Thank you. And first of all, thank you for the invitation to address this great event. It's an honor. And secondly, the thing is that why I'm holding a hand mic is that I'm really good at fighting cyber viruses at our team, but our human antivirus seems to be provided by Kaspersky at the moment. So bear with me if I have to cough at times. It's never easy to be the last one on the panel because almost everything has been said already, but not by everyone. Already has been told that what we have in Estonia, but our approach at the moment with the Cyber Command is a bit different because I don't have any slides to see how we are organizing this command or whatnot, because we are just at the process of establishing that command. I see that we are grappling with the same issues that our Spanish and Dutch colleagues. We are trying to conceptualize of where we're trying to go. But today I will actually talk more about the why. What is our own national vision for the Cyber Command? And keep it a more political and a strategic dimension at that. And I think the fact that we are discussing the establishment of different cyber commands is a testament to the fact of the importance of the cyber domain. It has changed the way we consume and communicate and even fight wars at the moment. We become dependent on the technology, but there is no way of turning back the benefits that this progress has brought us well and has provided us. Like we have seen, many nations today are setting up their own military cyber commands. We acknowledge the fact individually, as states and as alliance, that this is a war-fighting operational domain. But obviously, creating a cyber command is not a goal in itself. It is an instrument that forms a part of national defense toolbox. And what makes it different from other domains, air, land, sea, space, I would say is its interdisciplinary, informational, and civilian military dual-use nature, and how all the other domains are closely linked to it. It's almost like the air that we breathe. And I would say it's actually even more adequate to say it's like dark matter in the universe, but the dark matter of a human action domain that we have now. So I'll approach this question of our national vision in a classical three-pronged manner, in the sense of giving the general context that we live in, what are our challenges of setting up the command, and finally, what I see are the challenges for our individual nations and the alliance as a whole, also with the EU and NATO aspect tied into that. So why are we establishing cyber commands? You had a couple of ideas already on the slides. I would say for the same reason that we have all the other commands or services in our militaries or armed forces, because we have to be prepared and ready to defend our territory, our population, our values, our way of life. And this, again, holds as individually and as an alliance. The cyber environment is treacherous and the domain of here be dragons in the sense of early navigators. We see the rise of cyber attacks in frequency and in scale, as well as they are becoming more technologically sophisticated. This reflects actually a worrying trend of proliferation of aggressive means by highly empowered individuals, non-state and state actors. So it's a fascinating environment to be in. It has also changed the way we approach military art in cyberspace. Cyber means have become conventional tools in modern warfare. It is clear that the contested security environment and any country in that environment needs to develop its own full range of cyber capabilities. You cannot just be on the defensive. You have to be active and on the offense as well. So it is a question of broader national security and not just a question of wartime powers. Cyber provides an environment where you have to be vigilant from day zero and not just in the conflict. And I think on the collective defense level, cyber reaffirms the old saying that an alliance or a union is as strong as its weakest link. This holds true for the civilian side, be it at the EU, or for military networks of NATO. And turning now to the Estonian perspective of how we approach this context or the environment, we have actually, of course, we have the NATO CCD COE, we have had the 2007 attacks, we have the Cyber Defense League, we have the Cyber Range, but at the same time, we have taken our time to mature to the understanding that when we are ready for the Cyber Command, and I think now we are, since last year, we made a decision. It was approved by the government this June And now we're moving forward of establishing the Cyber Command and trying to be initially operationally capable already by the second half of next year. So 1st of August, usually when NATO is on vacation, we will set it up. But the Estonian rationale for setting up this command is straightforward. For us, the functioning of society and state depends heavily on ICT solutions and e-services. We're a highly digitized nation. So cybersecurity holds a prominent role in the overall national security system. We pay a lot of attention to cybersecurity in civilian and military systems, as both are interconnected and interdependent. Security by design is not just a catchphrase, but an underlying operational principle in Estonia. Through this establishment, we contribute to the security of our way of life in the military sphere as well. Like has been said, we are one of the most digitally dependent nations, but we also contribute as well in the military setting. We are not just a consumer of cybersecurity, but also a provider of cybersecurity with the NATO CCD COE in Tallinn, which Matthias is very closely knowledgeable of. We have our own national cyber range that we have also provided for NATO and our allies, even beyond the NATO alliance as well. We're always ready to share our experiences and mistakes as well to our partners so that they could become more resilient. And we share the same threat space. So if I'm hit, most probably Spain is hit as well by the same threat vectors. Keeping this in mind, and of course Estonia really likes to talk about how much we are doing something in per capita, we are probably the smallest ally to set up its own separate cyber command. Like I said, we're still in the early stages of this journey, but the path has been set. And in 2018, we will see the first fruits of this mission. And our mission through the Cyber Command will be to deter and defeat threats to our interests and infrastructure, to defend the information environment of our defense forces, and to provide mission assurance for the operations. And I would say that picture has been already changed as well from the Warsaw Summit. We have the EFP now. We have the EFP cyber incidents, the cyber environment. So the things that we see in the East and all across the alliance are in evolution. So we need to be able to address that as well through the Cyber Command. But of course, there are many challenges, and I will actually echo the same challenges of our Dutch and Spanish colleagues in a sense. Cyber workforce, first and foremost. Operational concepts, governance structures, network architecture, interoperability, situational picture, and necessary capabilities. But it's usually easy just to see what is wrong or what is the tough part in cyber. And I would actually say that we need to focus more on the opportunities. Because I think this establishment of a new command within the Estonian Defense Forces provides us with a systemic shock as well to the calcified status quo, that we need to find new ways of thinking. And it forces us to change our thinking, provides a shift in the mindset of how we will see future conflicts, how we integrate kinetic and non-kinetic effects, and provides more jointness as well. And as any military officer knows, jointness is easy on paper, but it's much harder in real life. The Cyber Command as well can provide us with a better situational awareness picture. We foresee the linking with the national threat picture as well to better understand and prevent adverse effects in both the civilian and military spheres, as these are interconnected. We see that the Cyber Command provides an opportunity to be a dedicated partner in ICT and cyber to the allies and to the partners and to the alliance as a whole. So we will have, through this command, also better understanding of our own training needs, of our partners' training needs, and we can also leverage the full potential of the cyber range that we have for our NATO allies. And to be frank, I do think that the hardest part will be in the human domain for us as well. Our personnel will be the main challenge. As you know, or as you might know, Estonian national defense concept is based on the conscription service and the employment of our reserve servicemen and women. We also encourage our citizens to volunteer to the National Defense League. And hence, I do think that in the cyberspace as well, we must create a system where we will utilize all our resources and reserves for the benefit of Cyber Command. This also enables us to find new methods of recruitment. We already have the cyber conscription service, in the sense that the recruits, of course, have to do their basic training for 3 months. But after that, if they have cyber or ICT capabilities or knowledge or the background, they can actually serve in the dedicated service. We will also find more ways to integrate with our Cyber Defense League, to integrate their reserve and of those men and women who want to volunteer their own free time for the national defense as well. So I see that there's the problem of the manpower is also an opportunity to put it working as a whole, and a whole of government force multiplier, by creating trained ICT experts who can switch between the civilian and military fields as well. And finally, I would like to close on a wider picture, because I do see that the Cyber Command has to be able to integrate with the larger strategic, also the Euro-Atlantic context as well. And I think in a wider context, no country can deal with cyber threats in isolation. It doesn't recognize physical state borders. I would say that it doesn't actually even recognize the organizational borders that we have within the NATO and EU. So we need to talk about better information sharing, and I think this is a crucial element, but the list of issues is of course much wider. We need to talk about cross-border crisis management procedures, work together on plans on how to mitigate large-scale cyber campaigns, organize joint exercises, define even mutual training possibilities, and streamline cyber defense curricula. And I do believe that we must arrive at a better and effective crisis management and mutual training, because no state is an island or no organization is an island in cyberspace. Let me stress one more issue, because we're also the Council Presidency of the EU at the moment. And as anybody has said, the key to survive the presidency is to count down the days when it's over. So for the next 2.5 months, I think we have seen also developments in cyberspace as well. And these developments have been good in the sense that we held the first strategic political level exercise for the defense ministers in September in Tallinn. It was called the EU Cyber 2017. And we presented the EU defense ministers with a cyber-related scenario. And these things are important not just because we all know that as military officers or civilians who deal daily with ICT and cyber issues, this is our bread and butter. But for our ministers, our political advisors, political appointees, it might not be. We need to educate them as well. And I think this exercise had very interesting outcomes in the sense that we already, of course, have the mantra of saying that there's a gap between the technological side and the political side. But we also saw that there's a gap, or at least a certain leeway between the officials and politicians. This came out from the understanding of when we presented the ministers with different cases and their teams, different situations, and they had to define whether a certain situation, let's say, rises up to the level of armed attack, or how to deal with issues of strategic communication in cyber incidents. And I would say that ministers actually are usually much bolder in giving their political guidance, and much more aggressive even in that sense, than the officials would have dared to implement. So we must be aware of this fact as well. But I think this exercise clearly showed how important it is to play through a crisis scenario on the top of the strategic level to arrive at a more common solutions between the member states. And I would say it was great that the NATO Secretary General was as well observing the exercise and contributing in the question and answer session in the end of bringing more closer to the NATO-EU cooperation. And of course, on this note, I would say that we are holding a seminar in Tallinn as well on the 2nd and the 3rd of November on how to have more cooperation between the NATO and EU in the cybersecurity domain, especially looking at the EU cyber exercise that we had, the NATO CMX, EU PACE. So the invitation is out there. Come to Tallinn on the 2nd and the 3rd. So in conclusion, wrapping up, we all know that from our cyber perspective, we protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability in our information systems. But I think we now need to move on to understand that all these three components are not just things that we protect in the IT realm. We protect them in our societies and our organizations as well, because it's much better, larger issue than just on the technical side, but it's a political and a societal issue that we have to solve. That's why I think all the progress on the cyber commands is much needed. Thank you.
Thanks very much.